Hi, welcome all of you. Good morning to people joining from US, Mexico, and Peru, and good evening to people joining from Europe and India. So, just like our panel, our audience is also very global in nature. So, I hope you guys are doing fine physically and mentally. I'm in Amsterdam. Things have started to come back to normal. Things have started to open up. And this is my first week back at the office in the university. So, thank you for joining us and supporting us with this panel. Let me welcome you all to this panel discussion on reimagining the customer journeys and how companies can leverage digital transformation to deliver an unmatched experience. Mainly, we'll focus on 3 points here. Firstly, how consumer behavior has been changing in this always connected world, how this change has led to the changes in the customer journey, where on one side you have the new customer journeys coming up, multi-channel customer journeys, and also omni-channel customer journeys, where the touch points have changed right from the identification of the need or the need recognition to the post-purchase stage. And lastly, we'll be talking about the biggest challenges and opportunities for the companies in this scenario. So all of these questions we are going to reflect upon through the prism of the experience of our panelists who come from different industries as well. This is our second panel, and we are doing this event in collaboration with Centrum PUCP Business School, which is the number one business school in Peru. And let me also thank Igor Loza, who is the Director of International Affairs, for providing this opportunity. So in this panel discussion, we will have a 45 minute discussion followed by 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A. And during the discussion, if you have any question, please feel free to write that in the questions tab. And if you have a specific question to a particular panelist, then you can write the name of the panelist in the bracket as well. Also, there are emoji options. So if you like some comment or perspective of the panelists, please feel free to show your love and appreciation by using that feature. And lastly, after the panel, we have our networking event where you can use the social launch feature and the virtual table feature of AirMeet and meet people from different geographies and hopefully make new friends. So without further ado, let me introduce the panel who come from three different geographies. So we have Mariano Prieto, who is originally from Spain, but now working as the Director General of Canvia, a firm which specializes in digital transformation and has got 20 plus years of experience in multiple projects. He's also a professor at Centrum PUCP Business School. We have also Maggie Huston joining us from Atlanta, a three-time Peabody Award-winning journalist who later transitioned into the content marketing. She also manages the knowledge community at UPS and also brings the creative side to this panel discussion. Lastly, we have Cedric Vialle joining us from France, now living in Mexico City, the e-commerce and digital director at LITS Adventures, also a professor at EGADE Business School. So, Shadrach, let me start with you. Always connected customer, has been there for many years. The COVID situation definitely accelerated this process. I wouldn't call this event as the initiator of the change, but more of a catalyst. So, if you can bring your perspective on, how this consumer behavior has been changing, and also give us a local perspective about Mexico, a country which is about to hit 80 to 90% of digitization or internet penetration. So, over to you, Chandra.
Sure. Nice. Very nice to be with you guys this morning. Thanks a lot, Abhishek, for organizing this event. Talking about the change in the customer behavior, I think we can start from what happened during this COVID period. And based on this, we have seen three main factors explaining the digitalization of the customer experience. First, the availability of people. They have time. They have less external activity. They stay more at home. They consume more digital media and channels. Then they have needs. They need to use these digital channels to learn, to work, to communicate with their family, or to buy when the shops are closed. And finally, they have this preference for this contactless channel in this sensitive period where you cannot have a human contact. So I think these three main factors explain also the boom that we observe in all the digital consummation. No? Then what can we see if we talk about local or regional trends? People need for education. Many of them are first-time buyers, okay? So they don't really know how to use an e-commerce platform. They don't know that they can pay by cash if they go to a store for their online shopping. So we need to educate them. Just to give you an example, we've made some email links to the Mexican customers for a retail company, and emails explaining how you can use various payment means where the highest open rate, like 60%, which is very high. Generally, we have like a 20%, no? You need also to educate through functionality, self-service, frequently asked questions, tutorials, videos that explain to the customer how he can buy, how he can receive, how he can contact us, how he can send back his product, for example. You also have a need for handholding. This means develop many contact channels. To give you an example, Zendesk, which is one of the leading platforms for customer service systems, it took months and months to implement like the integration of WhatsApp with the other channels. Generally, it takes some days, but due to the very high increase of their own business, even if it's a bit ironic as they are like a customer service company, it took months and months to have this all channel integration, no? Here for some clients in Mexico. And maybe just to finish, I think we have also the breaking of traditional barriers for the customer. I'm going to talk about a business I know well here, the eyewear and glasses business. It's very high generally to sell eyeglasses, optical glasses to customers because you need to try, you need to be sure of your eye prescription. So it's a very anxious kind of shopping. But we have seen a very fast rise in the selling of this kind of products because there is an option. No? People have to go, have to learn. There is an option that learn or learn. So I think that's the main trends we could see, and explaining also a bit this boom of this digitalization.
Okay, good to know. So I think that's good to know that in Mexico, you need to there's a need to educate people. There's the need to do some kind of a handholding. So Maggie, you work for UPS, a company which I'm very sure must have been very busy with so many changes happening. Your customer is actually different. Your customer is not not the individual customer. These are the businesses. So what changes you have seen in the consumer behavior in the last few years, and specifically now, what are the changes you foresee?
Thanks, Abhishek. Yeah, we've seen an acceleration of a trend that was really already existing. Before COVID hit, we knew that businesses were increasingly moving online, e-commerce, people were getting comfortable with buying things online. It was becoming second nature, especially as you're getting the rise in Gen Z, digital natives, all of these people who've grown up with the internet at their fingertips their entire lives. So we've always known that businesses were becoming more and more online. But once COVID hit and we were all stuck in our homes, the impetus, it was extremely important for businesses who didn't already have a great online presence. They needed to get there quickly. That was essential if they were going to survive at all. If they were maybe the digital channel was like a second thought to them. Maybe it was something that their primary was their storefront, and then their second channel was buying online. It was either you sell online or you die. Basically, what's going to happen to these businesses. So it was our job to help these businesses get online quickly. And we actually, one of the companies I wanted to talk about was this company called Pride that we work. Pride Box was started at the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak by a 20-year-old LGBTQ woman in New York, and she realized that with the pandemic happening, that they would not be able to have Pride celebrations, Pride parades, and so she decided that she would send out boxes of swag, of rainbow-colored flags, lip glosses, pens, papers, all that kind of stuff to anybody, to have a way of uniting the LGBTQ community in a time when they're not going to be able to get together. She had a great idea, but she didn't know how to execute on it. How do you make this come to life? And we found UPS has a virtual consultation where you can spend 15 minutes talking with the UPSer to understand what our products are and how we can help. And through those 15 minutes, she realized, wow, this is great. We have a lot of solutions that can help you. And we were able to help her set up her online store within a matter of weeks. So now she's selling. And this is like a 20-year-old. She had no idea what she was doing. She just had a great idea. How do we get this going? I feel like that story really encapsulates the feeling that a lot of businesses felt at the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak. How do I get online quickly? How do I get selling so that my income is not? I know I need to be online fast. So that was what we primarily saw. We've been working. on our side.
Okay, good to know. Very, very good example. I think very good example of enabling a particular segment of the society, which needs support and which needs emotional support as well. So, Mariano, we heard amazing views from Cedric and Maggie. On one side, you're talking about the individual customer in Mexico who needs a lot of handholding, bit of education. On the other hand, you have UPS coming up with innovative solutions to accelerate this digital process. You have been in this domain for the last 15 years, and you're working for Canvia. You must have executed so many projects. So if you can take us briefly through your experience, it'll be great to know.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. From Peru, first of all, thank you everyone for attending the meeting. I think it's a really good space that we are having to share a lot of in really good ideas from different perspectives and different parts of the world, which is really, really good. From my point of view, my experiences working for the last 20 years, trying to transform the situation with technology, I think that everything is changing. In the last years, everything changed progressively, but right now it's changing really fast, really, really fast. And companies are facing a situation in which they are conscious that they have to change they have to have a cultural change, an operational change in order to provide a customer experience, kind of different experience between the competitors, because it's something really, really important to know about the client. My colleagues talk about lots of examples, really good examples in which the companies are providing some kind of features, application experiences, customer pathway, really good in the last times in order to provide kind of things, a new journey, a new experience, a new feeling inside. And that's the important thing. I think what will characterize the customer experience and how brands can capitalize on these trends to improve their customer experience is based on a drastic shift. That drastic shift is changing from product and price to emphasize on customer experience, and that's based on customer journey mapping. That mapping is a new path. It's becoming increasingly important, and business want to understand to end-to-end journeys of their customers, whether they came from online or offline. And right now with the COVID and this situation, offline is really important because, for example, in the last 3 months, I've been at home, isolated in relation with this situation, the global situation we are crossing. Um, but people have to live, businesses have to work to be run. Then the situation have changed a lot. We know in this situation which is the path the customer is following, who they interact with, the ultimate decisions on product and services, and that situation is the situation that we can imagine the future, because in the future that kind of business impact that the companies have to provide to bring tangible benefits to the results account, profit and loss, is based on being close to the customer, knowing to the customer, personalization, contextualization in relation with the customer needs, with an easy transaction, with quality and security in all this digital world. And for that reason, I think that accompanied with the really good examples of my colleagues, that's the contextualization of this new era, in which I suppose in United States here is different than Mexico or Peru. I've been working in Brazil or in another European countries, and in all of them regions, you can perceive different waves of customer understanding based on technology.
Very nice point. I think Mariano covered few points there. Of course, one of them is the differences in the waves. So, for example, we can agree that the market development of whole digitization part is different in different geographies. But another very important thing which he talked about is customer centricity. So he also talked about customer journey mapping, and now we are talking about journeys which might start offline and end up online. Something which you saw at the showroom and you eventually end up buying online, or you saw something online and end up buying in the offline domain. So Cedric, you have worked so much on these kind of projects. We also talked about the Amazon Go example some time back. So if you can share any examples which you have seen with specific to customer journeys, it will be great.
Yes, I think that we have many local players here in Latin America, such as Rappi or Corner Shop, which is the equivalent of Instacart in the US, that are really disrupting the way people buy. They want it right now. They look for it and they expect the delivery in 30 minutes, 1 hour. I think this is something we've seen disrupting the customer journey. Something else very related to this first trend is what I call buy it for me, or ghost shopping, meaning you buy, someone gonna do this for you. Of course, it's gonna be the shopper or the picker in the store, then the driver gonna buy it to your home. And all these models are based on what we call the crowdsourcing model. Now, this company doesn't have such as per se employees, but they have all these independent people that can help and work few hours for them and base their work day on who's going to pay the more between Uber, between Rappi, between any other of this company. Also, this buy it for me, I think that's something we've seen I say in the customer to customer world. I have so many examples of people discovering and these new channels and not knowing how to buy a pizza for my grandmother or for my roomies, how to buy something on Mercado Libre, which is one of the biggest players here of e-commerce. So it's also informal. It's not always formal through this application. It's also happened in the private circles. And I would say a third trend that we've seen disrupting a bit the new pathway is what I call the social commerce or the local commerce. You have many apps right now that may allow you to buy, for example, home dishes just made freshly by someone around the corner. And also you also have like business for WhatsApp groups between neighbors, between friends, between communities. So I think this local social commerce also gain importance even more with this contactless context. No?
Okay. So definitely in Mexico, the journeys are changing, and it's more of a complex interaction between an offline channel, an app, sometimes WhatsApp, sometimes the website. So everything is getting mixed up, but still the company needs to figure out that which is the right touch point and the best touch point. So Maggie, UPS has been known for helping out small and medium business enterprises. You already talked about the example. I'm not sure if the customer journey has changed a lot in UPS, but are there any more touch points you have created or any new thing which you have done to make sure that you're able to reach the customer faster?
I think there are several things that we are always looking for the new way to reach the customer. And one of the areas that I'm really working on and spending a lot of time is in SEO, because I lead a team of content creators. And we are always looking for what are they searching for? What do they want to know? And then how do we insert ourselves naturally into that conversation? So one of the best examples I like to use, I'm taking this perspective of the customer journey, is an article that we created called How to Ship Food. Really simple concept, not exactly super difficult to understand, but a lot of people don't know how to ship food properly. How do you package it? How do you, with the best protective stuff that you need to pad and cushion the box so that things don't break and whatnot. When people are searching for that, they're not looking necessarily for how to ship food with UPS or how does UPS ship food. They just want an answer to the question. And I think this is an important part of your omni-channel strategy to think about, especially with a content marketing strategy, is sometimes people are going to go to the internet as naturally they would to find answers to their questions. And you can insert yourself into there in a really organic way. So when people go to Google and search how to ship food, the first article that comes up will be a UPS article where we'll show you visually with an infographic and also with words in an article how to package how to package the food correctly. And then, oh yeah, by the way, we can sell you something too. We can ship this food for you. So it's a really organic way of creating an omni-channel strategy that I think is important. Now, is it true omni-channel in the sense that you can buy through search or something like that? No, it's not like that. But is it another way to communicate with your customers in a way that doesn't feel forced? Yeah, that's where we're coming at it from.
Nice, nice. So do you see like a shift? You've been specifically working on the content part. So do you see a shift in the channels, from through which customers are contacting you or trying to come to your services? Do you see an increase in something and decrease in something?
We have several different channels that we've set up recently. We've got a virtual, like I was describing earlier, the virtual consultation where you can talk with a UPSer for 15 minutes. We've got a chat, an automated chat on the website where you can do like an auto chat kind of thing. Of course, there's phone, of course, there's email, of course, there's social media, all of the standard channels that you would expect to communicate with a large enterprise company. I understand that for small businesses, that might seem like an enormous hurdle to climb. How could you possibly set up, social chat, like a social platform on all of, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and manage to do a virtual consultation and do this and do email? That seems like a lot, but for an enterprise level, that's expected. That's kind of table stakes in order to enter the game. And would I say that one channel has been increasingly important over another? I only run one of the channels, so I don't know all of them. I wish I could tell you, but I don't know.
Yeah, but definitely you are doing right with whatever channel you have got, and you've been hitting the nail, at least from that channel. So Mariano, coming to you, I think Cedric and Maggie pointed a lot of things. They also talked about some of the challenges which an organization faces. Especially the small business owners, but also at the same time the enterprises also face some kind of challenges. With getting adjusted to this consumer change in the consumer journey. So according to you, what are the biggest challenges that you or your organization has faced, and how are you coming up to face those challenges?
Good question. Good question, because from my point of view, companies all over the world are trying to fight with themselves in order to have a good transformation to know the client, the customer. And the most important challenge from my point of view is the cultural point that they have to change. Into the companies, or the brands have to change several important topics like organization, people, business processes, and technology. Technology, from my point of view, is not the problem. It's something that can be changed more or less easily, more or less. Business processes are more or less the same, but the problem all over the world is the people. The people is where it's more difficult to change habits, conducts, or way for doing the things differently. In the last years, we are conscious that we are introducing agile methodologies, new ways of working, supported with new technologies. But we have companies or brands which are having success. They are having success, and other ones not. Why? Because of people. And I think that the challenge, the real challenge, is the cultural thing, the way of thinking a different way out of the box, using these new ways of working, not hierarchically, more horizontal, collaborative, agile, using the technology, and based on customer-centric methodologies or approaches. Uh, I think that's the real problem from my point of view. I've been working for different parts of the world in which the cultural thing is really important and really different. And you can perceive that kind of common point in the different parts of the world in which at the end everything is slowly or everything is difficult to to transform because there are lots of resistance to the change. And everything, the rest of things are, it's work, it's technology, but the most difficult things on the world, from my point of view, is the people, the person, is changing the things. We are evolving in something that personally can be changed, managed, can be managed in a different way. Call it if everybody is at home and not at the bar drinking beers and things like that, working with or talking with friends or in parties or something like that. Uh, Everything, I suppose, would be different. We can think and we can see that in different parts of the world with different cultures and different ways of working or act, the things are with different results. From my point of view, is a cultural change because that cultural change uh, makes a transformational change.
Got it, got it. I think that's a very deep point. Something which many people would not want to agree straight away. That it's not the technology, it's not the processes, it's actually the people. The resistance which comes from the top level or the bottom level people. It could be anyone in the company. I think that's something which is very difficult to manage. And I think you have got straight away to the honest truth. So let me ask Cedric, what do you agree with Mariano that it's the people who build things and at the same time do not build things? What do you think about that?
I fully agree with Mariano, and I've seen it across geographies in Europe, in Latin America, in Asia. The main resistance is people. But what can we do with this? I think the first topic is education. It's necessary especially for the top management, to understand the value chain, the business models, the vocabulary. Why people resist to change? Because they're anxious. They are stressed to look like I'm stupid. I don't know what we are talking about. So just to take out this barrier, this cultural barrier, you need to educate people, educate within the company, and educate taking some courses or some degrees outside of the company. Let me take a very concrete example. When we talk about marketing, we learned 10 years, 20 years ago in the business schools that to make cross-selling, for example, in a store, you need to put the Coca-Cola at the end of the store, like these people going to buy anything you put on their ways to the Coca-Cola. I think this is over. This way of thinking, based on very well thought kind of processes. Now, if you see the Amazon Go, for example, stores, you were talking about this before, people just grab and go, and it lasts 12 seconds. We don't try to sell them anything, because what we hope is that they're going to come a lot of times to our place because we offer a smoothless service. So I think we need to review our classics, educate ourselves. You need also to recruit to the right people. Be very careful, because when we talk about this customer experience, digital transformation, there are many people jumping from one company to the other with some nice buzzwords on their CV, but lacking of the knowledge. So ensure that the people you recruit have spent sufficient time in the company they were to really learn something, bring results, ensure that they know about data, that they know some KPIs about the business, even if they are on other areas, that are just understanding the big picture, the whole value chain. And I will add maybe one big challenge, which is defining the vision, defining the strategy. As I say, Mariano, I fully agree. The technology is in a way easy to it's just you buy it, you have it. You need to implement, of course, it's not that easy, but first think why you want this technology, why you want like a Ferrari if you go to the desert. It's useless. So you need to think what's the road, what's the path you're going to take. And for this, you need to invest also money in building the strategy, having the right people, having the processes. I think this is important also to know that you will need to invest money. It's not, Amazon is not Amazon today for having spent $100,000. Entonces, be consistent in spending, in investing in your education, investing in your people, and building these successful business models.
Very nice, Shadrach. I think one quote which I'll definitely remember and probably use it somewhere else with proper credit is, you don't need a Ferrari if you're going to the desert. So building on that, Maggie, you already manage a team of content writers and the whole team. What challenges you are facing? And do you agree with Mariano and Cedric? Do you feel the same kind of challenges, similar challenges happening with you as well?
So I'm going to throw a little stick in here and say, I would actually disagree. I think the people and the technology challenges are always present. They're always going to be a challenge. You're always going to have people who are resistant to change. You're always going to have people who are going to lean on technology rather than actually doing the job that they need to do. I think that the culture that you build within the company is, if you bake that into the culture, that you are constantly learning and constantly adapting, these are just kind of, as I said, they're just table stakes. You've got to have people who are willing to learn quickly and adapt quickly. The challenges that I see when it comes to creating a consistent and excellent customer journey really fall down into the execution of level, which is, of course, that's where I play, so that's how I see things. But I see the problem comes to consistency among different teams who are developing along the journey. So let's say my team is creating content, SEO content, and we're creating messaging on ups.com. Great. We have a concept of how we want it to look. There's another team that's creating a different version. They have very detailed information about how they want it to go, and there's another team that has a very detailed understanding of how they want their section of the customer journey to go. Linking all of those pieces across, having one continuous journey all the way through, that's the level that good directors and senior managers need to play at, so that it's one whole holistic customer journey rather than very siloed, for lack of a better word.
Isolated. In silos, a journey in silos where the departments are not communicating with each other. You have data duplication issues, etc.
Not even so much the data duplication issues. I just see it from the perspective of, like, sometimes you just want to overcomplicate things. You know all the details, and so you want to put all of the information in there when a customer really needs to see a very slim, clean experience of this is what it's going to look like in order to get me to the end.
Okay, so interesting point there. I think it also depends on what company you are in. I think UPS has always been a leader in terms of doing these things, the transformation and applying the whole digitization in their processes. I think you have been doing that even before the COVID period. So probably for you guys, it was more of a seamless transition into this accelerated period. So that's why you don't have the people or technology issues. So we have heard different opinions on that. So Cedric, we know the challenges now, but in this situation, if you can give us some recommendations on how brands can build stronger relationships in this situation of so many things happening parallelly. So what would be your suggestions on that?
Sure. And just to complete the previous point, I fully agree also with Maggie. I think you have a different level of maturity across companies and across the globe. And of course, some have already this education and these talents within the company. So I think it depends also of the level of maturity. Regarding the building this relationship, I think you need to leverage your data. No? What do you know about your customers? Of course, you need to have this data. Many companies, and I will take again the example of Amazon Go. If you compare Amazon Go with like a 7-Eleven here in Mexico, Amazon Go doesn't exist here, but we have a kind of convenience store like 7-Eleven. In 12 seconds, they will know everything about you. They will know who you are, what's your decision and not decision factors with the camera they have within the store. You will know what you, as Abhishek, would you have in your shopping list. And they can even know your biometrics data. And this, for example, for the other kind of convenience stores, they don't have anything about you. They don't know who you are. They will have just the average, the sales at the end of the day, the volume of sales, the value of these sales, and that's it, more or less. So I think leverage this data. If you don't have this data, well, yes, you need to accelerate your transformation. Many companies are still very focused here in Mexico on ERP, on CRM, where the new challengers are working based on the experience of the customer. So they are grabbing some data all over this experience. And I would say, just to conclude, leverage the brand. I think you need to have a very strong brand. When we talk about the digital world, the geographical differentiation, meaning having so many touch points in the physical world doesn't make the difference. What will make the difference? And let's think about Amazon. Amazon started with no store. Now they are building it because they understand what's the value, the added value of this. But you need to have a very recognized brand that generate trust. Of course, you need to have a good offer. But for me, that's one of the key points, that so many players that are now disappearing have totally left apart. They were just retailers taking the products from other players, not developing their own retail brands or own private labels. So I think that's also a key point to work on, that companies are sometimes a bit forget.
Okay, very interesting. I think so. What Cedric is saying is that instead of using the static customer relationship data, it's time to move on to looking at more behavioral data. How many touch points a customer has used while contacting you, how much time he spends on a particular touch point, etc. So Mariano, you must have worked on so many projects, which are data driven. So do you see that? Do you agree with Cedric on that? And are you using data to build stronger relationships with your customers as well?
Yes, I'm perceiving this kind of trend mm, in all the regions in which I've been working, because I think data is something really important nowadays, to know the customer journey, the customer needs, in order to adapt that kind of journey and personalize that journey to our customers, aligned to the business strategy of the company. For what? For give recommendations, to advise customers, to improve the experience, to try to get more money from the customers, and in order to enrich both parts, the company and the customer lives. And I think companies are more focused nowadays in enrich people's life with technology experiences based on data, and also not only data, because uh, mm, there are lots of data in companies. That's one of the problems. When we have lots of data, lots of information, and a structure or whatever, but we don't know how to attack that data. And nowadays, with the, the last technology, or the more useful technology in relation with data management, like artificial intelligence, or machine learning, or big data, predictive analysis, things like that, combining all that technology with really good knowledge about data management, I think the results are really incredible, in order to have like bots to advise customers, or data for prediction or recommendation, or trying to understand the purchase needs of clients, in order to personalize that kind of offer, and for that reason to understand more about the customer. Because in the future, from my point of view, you are going to be success. You are going to have success in order, if you are more close to the customer, and you have customer satisfaction from them.
Okay, so Maggie, both of them, recommend having the data-driven approach. You come from the content perspective. So according to what is the recipe for continue to develop a strong relationship with your customers? So how is UPS doing that as of now?
So obviously, using data is a really great way to understand who your customer is and what it is that they're looking for. doing it, like I said, we're using through search queries, we're doing it through tons of different ways. I mean, our data understanding is just truly remarkable. But I think it's for a small or mid-sized business who may not have the data resources available that a large enterprise does. I think it's really helpful if you boil it down to something very simple. Just what does your customer need and how can you sell it? Meeting that is so, it sounds so simple. It really does, but it's incredibly complex. If you understand what your customer is facing and why they're coming to you in the first place, then you're going to be able to meet and communicate in a way that actually reaches their ears so they can understand. It's for UPS, a large enterprise company where we have pretty much anybody could be our customer. There are so many different ways to understand our customers and to segment them and to group them and all that. It's incredibly complex. But most companies aren't going to have that level of an audience. Most companies are going to be having a much smaller and defined understanding of who their customer is. So I would just recommend, whether it's through listening to them on social media, whether it's through customer feedback sessions, whether it's through looking at the data points that you're getting when they're clicking around on your website, or whatever. There are so many different ways to get at that data, but just fundamentally understand what's making them tick, and then you can sell. Simple.
Okay, so good insight. Maggie recommends being simple, but at the same time, I think one recommendation which I really like is the listening part. I think a lot of companies fail on that. They don't really bother about listening to the customer, and especially given there are so many different ways of listening to the customer. The customer is literally speaking to you from a lot of different touch points. Social media, blogs, and articles, and so many things. So that also represents a great opportunity. For the companies who are not doing that yet. So Cedric, building on that point, what are the biggest opportunities do you see? Let's not talk about the COVID part. The COVID part is already done. This is the new normal. These things will keep on continuing. So what short-term and long-term opportunities do you see for the companies in this moving forward?
So I think this is the opportunity to also build, as I said, this long-term strategy, focus on what's your purpose, why you are relevant for the customer and why you will be relevant in 5, 10, 20 years. I think that's the right opportunity to do this. I've seen one of the questions of the audience to what do you need to do? I think it's even more, it's always the case. You always need to define where you want to go, but I think it's even more the case right now. I think also it's the time to maybe create some ecosystem, maybe alone. It's not sufficient to be able to compete with the giants that we are facing right now. I'm thinking about the GAFA, but I mean, you have this in any sector. And that's why I think you need to build, let's think about how Walmart a few days ago announced a partnership with Shopify, just to be able to face the Amazon ecosystem. If we think about Rappi, I've talked about Rappi here in Latin America. They have Rappi Cash, they have Rappi Favor, they have platform, they have many, many services they are offering. So I think it's time to develop an ecosystem of services and an ecosystem outside of your company with some alliance you can have with players from the same vertical or from different business, just to offer a better service and a better offer. And I would say maybe one of the opportunity that we have right now is also to acquire customers. As I say, many customers are joining the digital channels right now. Yes, I'm thinking about Latin America. And these customers are cheaper. Why? Because there are many companies cutting their marketing costs, their digital marketing costs, and this is based on the auction model. So if you don't have so many demand, then the price get lower, and you can have digital marketing for cheap. So I think, and I would say the last opportunity that I can see is to innovate at the personal level and innovate at the company level. As said very well Darwin, it's not the most intelligent species that will survive, it's the one that can adapt. And I think we are in this cycle of crisis where we need some innovation. What Schumpeter called the creative destructions. It's the right time to create new business model or adapt your business model or develop this partnership to be relevant for the customer. So I think also at the personal level, that's the time for innovation. Just to give you an example and to conclude, we have here a school on these digital topics, and we are also offering horse coaching. Or spiritual coaching. You need also to reinvent yourself at the personal level and to be a better professional also. Everything is connected. So I think it's the right time to think about it, oneself and to change or innovate or learn and be open to these changes.
Good to know. Good to know. I think changing business models and then investing yourself personally and individually in adapting to the changes. Couple of insights which I could gather from you. So Mariano, building on this, supposedly, if you have to look into the crystal ball and look at the biggest opportunities which are going to come for the next few years, what will be your take on this?
Yes, definitely. I think there are lots of opportunities in the next years. I think talking about the customer experience and the technology based on customer experience, there are. I would think uh, like 7 trends in which I think that opportunities are going to best. Like mobile first, always connected is something that we are using right now. Okay, but we have to prioritize this mobile-based customer delivery for every aspect of the business, which include website design, outreach programs, product design, services, and customer support. Well, I think that opportunities are going to enforce in this kind of activity, mobile first of omni experience. Another important thing that I think is going to be a good opportunity for the future will be to enforce the omni-channel customer experience. But that omni-channel customer experience is trying to provide a cross experience between all the channels the customer are using. Right now, omnichannel is more everything connected and wherever thing can be connected. But we need to enforce or we need to take advantage of the situation in which these connections uh, can use the data in order to make a cross, and then business embrace this touch with business impact and business experience. Another opportunity, really good opportunity for the future is artificial intelligence for individualized customer experience. I think that the next step is process and utilize the data to intelligently craft personalized customer experiences. Uh, Another thing is be focused on customer service because more and better customer facing booths and virtual assistants are going to take place in the new reality, in the new normality in which we are going to live in this close future. Into the companies, I think there is a really good opportunity for robot process automation, improving the efficiency in customer experience delivery or the efficiency in business processes in order to have a time to market, a close time to market, and a better experience. And linking with, for example, with augmented reality with an immersive demos and customer experiences uh, points, I think it's going to be a really good opportunity to transform. But at the end, I would like to share that from my point of view, it's all about data. And technology is the bridge to drive personalization and provide this customer experience through data. Data will enable companies to anticipate customers' needs and be proactive with service delivery, resulting in optimizing and customer experience. From my point of view, data is the core of everything, and surrounding the data, we have a lot of enablers in order to bring innovation and a better customer experience. And many companies, successful companies, are using this kind of method, this kind of technology, linking with the customer centricity points in order to bring that kind of unbelievable experiences for them.
Nice, nice, nice. So, I mean, of course, you talked about a lot of opportunities, and it's not that easy to implement them, and of course, there will be challenges in implementing them. But given if we have the right conditions, these whatever things you have talked are going to be possible in the future. So, just a last point from Maggie as well. So again, if you have to look into the crystal ball and think about the future customer journey, what will be your take on that? And after this, we'll take some questions from the public, the audience as well.
My future customer journey, if I'm looking into the crystal ball, is just walk through the whole customer journey yourself. Walk through every single potential customer journey that you might be taking, that you're asking your customers to take, and look for pain points. That's my best recommendation for what to do. I'm not a futurist at all, but I do think it's incredibly important to stay up to date with whatever it is your customers are experiencing, and then also look at what other companies do very, very well too. So as I said in my LinkedIn post when I was promoting this, a rising tide lifts all boats. That's very true when it comes to the customer journey. If you've got one customer or one company that's doing it really, really well, they're going to expect that customer journey across every different company that they deal with. So whoever's doing it great, copy them.
Okay. So not only not only creating multiple customer journeys, but going through them, walking through them, experiencing what your customer might face, will be the biggest opportunity and also the right way of approaching this. So thank you so much for all your inputs. I think good to see so many diverse inputs on the same topic. So let's take some of the questions from the audiences. So let me invite the audiences. There's a very nice function which is to raise hand. If you raise your hand, you'll be coming to this virtual stage. So I would encourage people to raise hands, and we can have some questions coming live from the audience. So please, guys, go ahead.
Hey, Abhishek, I see that Saruba Saha has actually submitted a question in a couple of different places, and she tagged me in it, so I wanted to try to answer it. Her question is there some sort of mitigation mechanism to deal with black swan events like COVID-19 that might help insulate a company or at best survive? So far, we've seen major devastation from black swan events like this till date. The only mitigation thing that I can think of is cash. It's not exactly a great answer, but it's true. I mean, there's a reason why people on Amazon are doing okay, because they're in cash. If you're not able to sit on a ton of cash, then I would be looking at what relief programs are available to you within the company that you're in, or within the country that you're in, excuse me. In the United States, the PPP was absolutely critical, the Paycheck Protection Program, for those of you who aren't in the United States, to keeping several small businesses alive. Diversifying. Make sure you don't have all of, if you can't sit on a chunk of cash, make sure you've got several different ways of bringing in money so that you're not always looking at all your chips are in one basket. I know it's fairly basic advice, but it's true and it works.
I mean, good to know. I think love your candid answers. Like straight to the point. There's no packaging, like to the real truth. So I think Rohit would love to ask his question. So let me invite him on the stage, and subsequently I will invite Shubham as well, who has raised his hand. So let's get Rohit on the stage. Hi, Rohit. Good to have you here. Please go ahead with your question.
Hi everyone, I am heading digital function for a Singapore-based company called as Olam International. My question is with respect to Cedric's explanation on how engaging, let's say how truly engaging customer experiences companies are providing today, wherein within seconds we come to know about what are customer choices and what's happening with the customer overall. It will be really great to know if there are some concrete examples on the costs of achieving that thing, cost per customer, and also if there are some examples on cost versus benefit by spending X dollars, if what companies have achieved as an ROI. Historically, if you have studied some companies doing that, or maybe whatever companies you were referring, if you have some data on that, that will surely help.
Sure. Thanks a lot for your question. Well, let me give you some concrete example. Cost varies a lot between industries if we are talking about B2B, B2C, but more like spends, like, I don't know, they offer you 3 months. Let's imagine it's $10 per month, the subscription. So they spend more or less $30 to acquire you. And they hope with this, you're going to stay 1 year, 2 years, 4 years or more. And then your family and friends going to come. If you compare Spotify to Amazon Music, which is more or less the same service, maybe with not the same lists, but let's say it offers music in streaming. Amazon gonna have the availability to divide the acquisition cost between many other services because you're gonna stay in the ecosystem. You're gonna have Amazon Prime. You're gonna buy Amazon products, or you're gonna buy products through Amazon stores. So they will leverage all this data that they have about you, and they will split this cost not just for one product, but for so many products. So when Spotify can spend $30 for you, maybe Amazon can spend $150 because they will split it between so many products and services you're going to buy to them. So I think this is key when you think about cost, about, okay, the cost, but what's the revenues you're going to generate and what's the product and services ecosystem you have to offer. And I think the second thing that you can look at is the return on advertisement spending, that you could accept when you go and buy some public advertising online, for example, on Google Ads, you can see during this period how this return on advertisement spending can really have very, very good returns because there are many less players playing for the same keywords. So I think that's something you need to follow. You need to have, your strategy shouldn't be my return on investment on this first purchase that's going to make the customer, of course. It should be around the old customer lifetime value. And so many companies are so short term in the way they build their strategy, in the way they follow their numbers. Of course, this period is very critical, I understand, but at the same time, you need to know if I'm buying this customer cheap today, I'm avoiding a very strong cost tomorrow where there will be much more players in this digital world. So I think more than giving a cost, you need to compare with the industry. And you need to have this long-term vision when you know where you can divide these costs between so many products and services.
Very nice point, Cedric. I think you what the insight is that buying a customer at a cheaper rate as of now may not be the right thing to do in the long run. So yeah, thank you so much for that answer. Let me give the mic to Shubham. He has a question, a student from IE Business School in Madrid. Let's see what question you have. Hi, Shubham.
Hello, sir. Like let's say UPS. So how do you actually ensure that the confidence is actually endured very aptly in the customer, so that he goes on and purchase the product even when it's being delivered by a different hand.
So perhaps Maggie, you can take that briefly.
Yeah, sure. I can take that one. I'm sorry I wasn't able to hear all of your question, but I saw what you've written down, so I'll try to answer this as best as I can. I think your question is regarding if you're having an influx of digital customers who are then also wanting to return their items occasionally. Is that right?
Yeah, indeed. Like, you have new customers, so sometimes they're hesitant. They want to try, but they're not sure if they would be keeping the product with them. So if they want to return it, so, you see that refund costs are a very big cost in the logistics. So how do you actually deal with that? That's one. And second is with regard to bestowing the trust factor in the customer with regard to hygiene as a result of COVID, especially.
Okay, so the first one I would take with how do you balance it from the logistics off. I mean, UPS offers a wide variety of return solutions that for businesses to help them manage their returns and get that inventory back on the shelves. Literally, I've created websites about this that go into the different details of which return solution is right for each business. At a larger perspective, I think it's more important for the businesses to be thinking about creating an entire returns experience, not just the cost of the returns itself. Because if you create a good returns experience, something that's easy and painless, you're likely to create repeat customers. So let's say I want to buy a jacket. I'm not sure what size I am. I buy two and I try them on. I keep one, I return the other, and I realize, hey, you know what? I didn't have to save my box. I didn't have to print out a label. All I had to do was bring my jacket that didn't fit to a UPS store, and they package it up and send it off. Knowing that I have a very seamless and painless returns experience will make me more likely to buy from them in the future. So that is one of the returns opportunities that we offer at UPS. So I would encourage businesses to think about returns not just from the dollars perspective, but also from the entire experience of creating returns. And then the second part of your question, could you go into it a little bit more?
I can repeat that. So basically, this is with regard to the situation that COVID has created. Especially the customers believe that the product is being delivered by the delivery partners or the executives. So how do you bestow that confidence inside your customers with regard to the hygiene factor?
Yes. So how do you make people think that you're being clean and hygienic and whatnot? Okay. So
it's not mainly about the product being delivered from the warehouse to the end customers, but you have second-hand exchange of products. So there are online stores which enable second-hand product. You have here you have Wallapop, which ensures that I can sell my second-hand product to another customer. So now it is traveling from one customer to another customer. Meanwhile, you have logistic partner in between. So how do you ensure that the entire journey from one side to the end customer, this has entire hygiene factor very well taken into consideration?
Okay, so like if we're extending my example, so let's say I returned my jacket. The other day, and they had hand sanitizer everywhere. Everyone was wearing masks. They had plastic glass and all that kind of stuff. So I felt very safe being there because they were very transparent about what they were doing. So as a business, that's the best recommendation I could give, is just to be open about these are the actions that we're taking.
Thank you. Yeah. So let's move on to other question. I think we have time for a couple of more questions. So let me take a couple of questions. I think there is one question to Mariano written by Dushyant Bhati. So his question is that, Mariano, digital transformation is happening for, let's say, low value products like laptops, groceries. That has been going on in the motion before COVID. But what's your take on businesses which have got high value, like high engagement products like real estate, jewelry, cars, in that scenario, what's your take?
Good. Really good question, Dashant. I think that the point is differentiation. Okay, when you have a product for lots of people and the customer journey is really similar in all the situation, in every situation, I think so that you only want to do one thing: lower the price. This kind of products don't provide a value add service for the customer. But when you are in another kind of products, uh, you are building a customer journey, an experience, and a real feeling with this kind of things which you desire or which you are trying to buy. I think, to be honest, that the world is going to change about because of COVID, okay? But the world is not going to end because of COVID. Everybody is going to have a life out of their home soon or later. And the things are going to continue. The only thing that COVID is going to accelerate is the way we are facing the office, PowerPoint, and the operative systems transform their business and their vision in the future, and many others taking time to transform has they have uh, bring with lots of values in the stock price with a growing rate really interesting, and which the common thing all of them they have to undertake. Instead just selling products, the brands are trying to enrich people's life with technology experiences in, with for selling